The demon-locking tower collapsed, a backlash of 10,000 demons, and I shatter my demon bones to protect the sect. The only way out was the 9 Revolutions soul returning pill in Master's hand. Covered in blood, I crawled to Master's feet, only to see her feeding the pill to Junior Brother, who was merely frightened. "Master, I'm in so much pain," I pleaded humbly. Master, in her white robes, looked down at me condescendingly. "Lennon has a mortal body and can't handle fright. You have demonic blood and a thick hide. You won't die. Besides, all the immortal sects are watching. If I save you, a demonic creature, I would be colluding with demons. I must avoid suspicion." Junior Brother hid behind her, making faces at me triumphantly. "Senior Brother, you're so strong. Can't you let me have it?" Watching the life force drain from my body, I suddenly laughed, my nails digging deep into the soil. "Avoid suspicion? Fine. Then I'll return this cultivation you bestowed upon me, along with this life, back to you." I reversed my meridians, directly detonating my nascent soul. Violent spiritual energy exploded in my dantian, pain instantly overwhelming reason. It was the pleasure of a soul being torn apart. "Since you want to avoid suspicion, then I'll let you avoid it completely." Shinli didn't look at my broken body. Instead, her gaze was drawn to the protective talisman deliberately crushed in Lin En's hand, a life-saving item she had given Lennon, inciting demonic energy to frighten your fellow disciple in front of all the immortal sects. "Yi Xiao, are you using this to threaten me?" She didn't even realize that it wasn't demonic energy, but the power of my soon-to-be scattered nascent soul. "My good master." Her face was now as cold as frost, one hand gripping the top of my head tightly, her eyes filled with disgust. "Detonating yourself in front of all the immortal sects? Yi Xiao, are you threatening me?" My throat tasted of blood, and I spat a mouthful of black blood onto her snow-white skirt. "Threaten? Shinli, am I not even allowed to die?" "Insolent fool." Shinli slapped me hard across the face. I was already at my wit's end, and this slap sent me flying several meters, crashing heavily into a broken stone pillar. The bones in my spine cracked under the unbearable weight, but I couldn't feel the pain. The cold in my heart was more piercing than any injury on my body. Shinli retracted her hand, using a cleansing spell to wipe her fingertips with disgust, as if she had touched something dirty. "If you die here, others will only say that Lingyun Peak is poorly disciplined, forcing a disciple to his death. If you want to die, fine, but don't dirty Lingyun Peak's grounds. Don't ruin my reputation." Every word she spoke was a pearl. Every sentence pierced my heart. I lay on the ground, struggling to raise my head. Through my blurred vision, I saw Lin hiding behind her. That frightened little Junior Brother. At this moment, his face was glowing, with not a trace of weakness. He was playing with the empty medicine bottle that was supposed to save my life, a malicious smile curling on his lips. Seeing me look at him, Lennon immediately put on a pitiful expression, his eyes instantly reddening. "Master, it's all Ann's fault. If Ann wasn't weak and easily frightened, Master wouldn't have given me the medicine." "Senior Brother, is he blaming me for taking his medicine?" "Senior Brother, don't be angry with Master. If you have to blame someone, blame Ann. Ann will pay you with his life." As he spoke, he pretended to crash into the rubble beside him. The act was so fake that even a 3-year-old could see through it. But Shinli believed it. Or rather, she was willing to believe it. "Nonsense." Shinli grabbed Lin and shielded him in her arms, turning to look at me with even colder eyes. "Yi Xiao, look at your Junior Brother. Even now, he's still thinking of you. And look at you, narrow-minded, vindictive. You're acting like you're going to die over a single pill. You're utterly disgracing me." I laughed out of anger, laughing while coughing up blood. Thinking for me, "Shinli, are you cultivating the path of emotionlessness or the path of blindness?" Was he trying to die just now? He was afraid I wouldn't die. Shinli's face darkened, and the pressure around her surged. "Silence, unrepentant wretch. It seems I've been too indulgent with you in the past, fostering such a disrespectful nature. Guards, take this rebellious disciple to the water prison and subject him to the 9 heavens Xian Thunder Whip punishment. Let him wake up. The surrounding enforcement disciples hesitated. Your Honor, Senior Brother Ye's injuries are extremely severe. His demon bones are completely shattered. If he is subjected to the whip, I fear. Fear what? Shun-Li coldly interrupted, her gaze sweeping across everyone like a blade. He bears demon blood. His life is tough. Moreover, only by beating him, letting him know the pain, will he remember this lesson. Or are you also trying to protect this demon? The phrase protecting a demon terrified everyone into silence. Everyone knew that Shun-Li hated demons the most and cared most about avoiding suspicion. 2 disciples stepped forward, one on each side, to support me. Their movements were rough, tugging on my shattered demon bones. I was in so much pain that cold sweat poured down, but I bit my lip hard, refusing to utter a cry. As I passed Lennon, he leaned close to my ear and whispered in a voice only we two could hear. Senior Brother, that pill tasted really sweet. Too bad, it was wasted on a dog and not given to you. I whipped my head around, staring intently at him. Lennon had already retreated back to Shun-Li's side, timidly tugging at her sleeve. Shifu, Senior Brother's gaze is so scary, and is so afraid. Shun-Li gently patted the back of his hand, raising her head to look at me, resuming that aloof and superior demeanor. Drag him away already. I was dragged across the gravel-strewn ground, leaving a long trail of blood. My gaze cut through the crowd, locked firmly on the snow-white clad woman. Shen-Li, this was the Shifu I had protected with my life for 10 years. This was Lingyun Peak I had protected, even at the cost of my demonic bones shattering. How wonderful. What a joke. The entrance to the water prison was gloomy and terrifying, filled with biting cold. I was thrown into the bone-chilling sewage. Icy chains pierced through my collarbones. I finally couldn't hold back, letting out a heart-wrenching scream. Not because of the pain, because of despair. The water prison door slowly closed. Before the last ray of light disappeared, I heard Shun-Li's final instructions to the disciplinary disciples. Don't bother healing him. Demonic life is cheap, he won't die. The water in the water prison was weak water drawn from the land of extreme cold. Every drop was like a steel needle drilling into the marrow of my bones. I was suspended in midair, the wounds on my collarbones soaked in filthy water, already white and festering. The pain of having my demon bones completely shattered, coupled with the erosion of the weak water, made every minute and second feel like being tormented in hell. But I didn't die. Just as Shun-Li had said, I had demon blood in me, a tough life. At times like this, I'd rather be a fragile mortal, to die early and be reborn in peace. Talp, talp, talp. The crisp sound of footsteps echoed in the empty water prison. Without looking up, I knew who it was. That nauseating smell of face powder. It could be no one but Lennon. Tisk, tsk, tisk. Senior Brother, how have you become like this? Lennon stood on the bank, looking down at me condescendingly, holding a delicate glass lamp in his hand. The lamplight was dim yellow, illuminating the undisguised triumph on his face. Look at these wounds. They're all rotten. It must hurt a lot, right? I struggled to lift my eyelids, my voice as hoarse as if I had swallowed charcoal. Get lost. Lennon wasn't annoyed. On the contrary, he smiled even more happily. He squatted down and took a porcelain bottle from his bosom. That was the bottle for the 9 Revolutions soul-returning pill. Empty. He turned the bottle upside down in front of me and shook it. Senior Brother, are you thinking that if you had eaten this pill, you'd have been healed by now? Too bad. The master insisted on giving it to me. Do you know why? He lowered his voice, his tone filled with malicious gloating. Because I said I was frightened by the evil energy in the tower, and my chest hurt. Without a word, Shizuan shoved this life-saving elixir into my mouth. Actually, I wasn't hurt at all. I just wanted to see if Shizuan would choose you or me when you were about to die. And the result, you saw it. I stared at him, my eyes almost spitting fire. Lin En's lips curved into a strange smile as he lightly touched his finger to his lips. Shi Xiang, some things can't be said recklessly. I just took a walk around the tower. Who knew the formation would be so fragile that it would break with a touch? He leaned closer to me, his eyes greedy. But thanks to the evil energy of that demon sword, it not only helped me break through my bottleneck, but also conveniently gave you a good charge of colluding with the demon race. It's killing two birds with one stone, Shi Xiang. You should praise me for being clever. But it doesn't matter, since you were the one who used your demon bone to hold up the tower in the end. You're also the one who bears the crime of colluding with the demon race and destroying the demon sealing tower. I trembled all over, the chains clanking. It was you. You destroyed the demon sealing tower. You killed those tower-guarding disciples. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. I struggled frantically, wanting to rush over and tear that hypocritical face to shreds. But my Peepa bones were locked, and my spiritual power was sealed, so I could do nothing but make myself bleed more. Lin En laughed, doubled over, in my impotent rage. Kill me? With you in your current state? Yi Xiao, you should save your energy. Oh, right, I forgot to tell you some good news. He stood up and patted non-existent dust off his clothes. Tomorrow is the public trial. Shi Zuan has decided to strip you of your position as chief disciple and expel you from the sect in public at the assembly. The reason? Naturally, it's colluding with the demon race and plotting to harm your fellow disciples. A buzzing sound erupted in my head. Colluding with demons. Plotting to murder fellow disciples. To condemn someone, one can always find a pretext. Shen Li. She really believes your nonsense? Lin En shrugged, his face innocent. Believes it, why wouldn't she? I said I saw you talking to the demon at the bottom of the tower with my own eyes. I said you deliberately shattered the demon-locking tower in order to save that demon. Master hates demons the most. As soon as she hears those words, she loses her reason. Coupled with my victim appearance, she naturally trusts me implicitly. Saying that, he suddenly leaned closer to me, a hint of greed flashing in his eyes. However, senior brother, you have one last bit of value. Master said that since you're going to be expelled from the sect, then your cultivation and that half of your remaining demonic bone might as well leave them behind to nourish me. What? I suddenly looked up, staring at him in disbelief. Shen Li wants to dig out my bone to nourish him. Impossible. Even a tiger wouldn't eat its cub. I was raised by her. How could she do this to me? I don't believe it. I don't believe Shen Li could be so heartless. Lin En looked at me with pity, as if looking at a pitiful insect. Senior brother, you're too naive. In Master's eyes, you were never her child. You were just a dog she picked up, a demon with tainted blood. She kept you around before, because you were obedient and could do dirty work and hard labor for her. Now you're useless. Not only are you no good, but you'll also ruin her reputation. Making the most of your waste is your best end. He straightened up and blew out the glass lamp in his hand. Darkness once again enveloped the water prison. Enjoy this last night, senior brother. Tomorrow, I will personally catch your bones. They must be very warm. Footsteps faded into the distance. I hung alone in the darkness, the cold piercing to the bone, but not as cold as the chill in my heart. Shen Li, if you really do this, then I, Yi Xiao, even if I become a vengeful ghost, will not let you go. The next day, I was dragged to the plaza in front of the Lingyun Hall. The sunlight was blinding, so much so that I couldn't open my eyes. There were people everywhere. Representatives from all the major immortal sects, Lingyun Peak disciples, densely packed, surrounded me in circles. The gazes they cast upon me were full of contempt, disgust, and fear, but no sympathy. Look, that's Yi Xiao, the traitor who colluded with the demon race. I heard that he destroyed the demon-locking tower with his own hands to save a demon lord, killing several fellow disciples in the process. You never know what someone is really like, and immortal Shen Li used to be so good to him. Demons are demons, ungrateful wretches who can't be tamed. Whispers surged like a tide. I knelt in the center of the plaza, wearing only a tattered single garment, stained with blood. On the high platform, Shunli sat upright in the master's seat. Today she wore an even more elaborate head disciple robe, the gold thread embroidery shimmering in the sunlight. Her expression was solemn, sacred, and inviolable. Beside her sat Lin, his face flushed. Rebellious disciple Yi Xiao, do you know your crime? Shun Li's voice, amplified by spiritual power, resounded throughout the entire square. I struggled to raise my head, looking directly into her eyes. Disciple, what crime have I committed? Still dare to quibble. Shun Li slammed the armrest, and a pressure like a mountain descended. I spat out another mouthful of blood and collapsed onto the ground. Lin saw it with his own eyes. You conspired with the demon at the bottom of the tower, working together to shatter the demon-locking tower. To cover up your crimes, you even tried to kill Lin and to silence him. If Lin hadn't been lucky enough to escape with his life, my Lingyun Peak would have been destroyed by you, this demonic spawn. I gripped the stone slabs of the ground tightly, my fingernails breaking, blood flowing. Fabricated charges. Fabricated charges. Shun Li, you would rather believe his one-sided story than my 10 years of loyalty? When the demon-locking tower collapsed, it was I who blocked the gap with my body. It was I who detonated the demon bone to stop the backlash of 10,000 ghosts. If I had really colluded with the demons, why would I destroy my foundation to save you? My questioning was hoarse and echoed in the square. A slight commotion arose in the surrounding crowd. After all, the injuries on my body could not be faked. A hint of hesitation flashed in Shun Li's eyes. Just then, Lin suddenly clutched his chest and began to cough violently. Cough, cough, cough. Master, senior brother, he's using a self-inflicted wound ruse. Lin pointed at me with a face full of grief and indignation. At the time, the demon promised him supreme demonic arts to help him rebuild his demon bones. He was greedy for a moment and made a huge mistake. Later, when he saw things were exposed, he pretended to be injured, trying to gain sympathy. Master, you must not be deceived by him. As he spoke, he spat out another mouthful of blood, his face as pale as paper. And then, Shun Li's expression changed drastically, and she immediately channeled spiritual energy into Lin. Looking at me again, that hint of hesitation had long since vanished, replaced by a deeper disgust. Incorrigible! You dare to slander your fellow disciple, even when death is upon you. Yi Xiao, you have disappointed me too much. She stood up and announced to the crowd. Today, I, Shun Li, will cleanse the sect in front of the heroes of the world. Deprive Yi Xiao of his position as chief disciple, abolish his cultivation, and expel him from Lingyun Peak. Wait! The Qingyun sect elder, who had been sitting beside them, suddenly spoke. Immortal Shun, this child is, after all, carrying demon blood. If he is released down the mountain like this, I fear he will become a great disaster in the future. In this old man's opinion, it's better to completely abolish his demon roots and eliminate future troubles forever. Shunli frowned slightly, as if thinking. Lin interjected at the opportune moment. Master, this disciple has recently been experiencing cultivation setbacks. The doctor said it was because I was frightened and injured my foundation. If there were blood and bone of the same origin to be used as a medicinal primer, perhaps it could. He didn't finish his sentence, but his meaning was self-evident. Shun Li's gaze landed on me. That look was no longer one of looking at a person, but at an object that could be disassembled and used. Since that's the case, Shun Li slowly opened her mouth. Her voice is cold, as if it contained no warmth. Yi Xiao, since you have committed a grave error, you should atone for it. Hand over your remaining demon bone to heal Lin and consider it repaying Lingyun Peak for the past 10 years of raising you. Although I've been mentally prepared, my heart still shattered inch by inch when I heard these words with my own ears. Atonement? Kindness of upbringing. How much blood had I shed and how many injuries had I suffered for Lingyun Peak? Now, She actually wanted to dig out my bones for a liar. Shen Li. I slowly got up from the ground, swaying like a wandering ghost. Do you really want my bones? Shun Li was expressionless. You owe it to Linen. I laughed loudly, laughing until tears came out. Good. A good I owe him. A good Shun immortal venerable, avoiding suspicion. Since you want it, then I'll give it to you. But Shun Li, remember this. From this day forward, I, Yi Xiao, am severing all ties with you, with Ling Yun Peak. Lifetimes upon lifetimes, never to meet again. The plaza was deathly silent. Everyone was stunned by the resolution in my eyes. Shun Li frowned, seemingly not expecting me to be so resolute. Yi Xiao, stop putting on an act here. Will you do it yourself, or should I let the enforcement hall do it? She was still aloof and superior, still thinking I was acting. In her eyes, Yi Xiao, was just a dog that couldn't leave its master. No matter how badly I was beaten, as long as she beckoned, I would wag my tail in return. Unfortunately, this time, she really misjudged. No need to trouble others. I'll do it myself. I suddenly extended my right hand, fingers forming a claw, and fiercely stabbed into my chest. The sound of claws entering flesh clearly echoed in every corner. Blood instantly dyed my clothes red. Agonizing pain struck, but I didn't even furrow my brow. I stared intently at Shun Li, watching as a crack finally appeared on her previously indifferent face. Yi Xiao, are you crazy? She subconsciously took a step forward. Don't come over. I shouted sharply, fingers hooked onto the last remaining heart-protecting demon bone in my chest. That was the last bit of strength supporting me to live, and the last shred of dignity I had as a half-demon. I roared toward the sky, my wrist suddenly exerting force. Accompanied by the sickening sound of bone and flesh separating, I forcefully yanked a rib bone, shimmering with a black-gold luster, from my chest cavity. Blood erupted like a fountain, splattering all over the ground. I swayed, my face as pale as a ghost, but I gripped the bloody bone tightly in my hand. Here, the bone you wanted. I used all my strength to slam the demonic bone towards the high platform. The bone whistled through the air, grazed Shun Li's cheek, and crashed heavily into Lin An's arms. Linen shrieked in fright, almost dropping the bone. But he quickly reacted, clutching the bone tightly, his eyes filled with greedy ecstasy. Shun Li stared blankly at the terrifying bloody hole in my chest, her face instantly turning deathly white. Yi Xiao. You. Her voice trembled, whether from anger or from fear. I staggered backward, each step leaving a bloody footprint on the ground. Shun Li, this one bone repays 10 years of upbringing. This cultivation of mine repays the nurturing of Ling Yun Peak. This life, I also return to you. I retreated to the edge of the plaza. Behind me was the bottomless abyss, the abyss of 10,000 demons. It was Ling Yun Peak's forbidden area, and also the burial ground for all demons. Falling in meant being utterly destroyed, body and soul scattered. What are you doing? Shun Li finally panicked. Her figure flashed, wanted to rush over and grab me. Yi Xiao, stop right there. I won't let you die. That's an order. An order? Even now, she's still ordering me. I watched the white figure rushing towards me, a relieved smile curving on my lips. Shun Li, I owe you nothing. Didn't you want to avoid suspicion? Then if I die, you'll be completely innocent. At the moment Shun Li's fingers were about to touch the corner of my robe, I turned around without hesitation and leapt. The wind howled in my ears. I saw Shun Li's face twisted in horror, saw her hand reaching out and grasping at empty air. I saw Lin An's triumphant smile freeze on his face, and I saw the azure sky receding away from me. Finally, liberated, my body plummeted, sinking into endless darkness. I closed my eyes, letting the violent gale at the bottom of the 10,000 demon abyss tear my remains to shreds. Shun Li, if there is a next life, I would rather be a blade of grass, a stone, and never again be your disciple. Chapter 5. The moment my body fell into the 10,000 demon abyss, it was torn to pieces by the raging gale. But I didn't die. Or rather, I didn't die completely. After intense pain, there was a silent void. My consciousness floated in the darkness, watching my flesh and blood turn to dust, with only a wisp of obsession remaining. Above the abyss of 10,000 demons, Mount Lingyun was in chaos. Shunli lay prostrate at the edge of the cliff, her immaculate white robes now covered in dust. She stared blankly into the bottomless abyss, maintaining that grabbing posture, as if turned into a stone statue. Yishao, she murmured to herself, her voice so soft it would dissipate with a breeze. Master, are you all right, Master? Lin, and clutching the blood-stained, demonic bone, ran over breathlessly. Fake tears streaked his face, but his eyes couldn't hide his excitement. Senior brother, how could he be so foolish? He only had to admit his mistake. Why did he have to jump? Master, please don't be sad. Senior brother committed suicide out of guilt. It's not your fault. You did it for the greater good of the sect. To avoid suspicion, you did nothing wrong. Avoid suspicion. Shunli repeated those two words, her body trembling violently. She slowly turned her head, looking at Lin and with vacant eyes. It was the first time she looked at this little disciple she usually doted on the most without any warmth in her eyes. Just then, a loud explosion came from the back of Mount Lingyun. Immediately afterwards, the entire Mount Lingyun shook violently. The originally clear sky instantly turned cloudy, and dense demonic energy surged like a tide from all directions. What's going on? The Mountain Protection Array. The Mountain Protection Array is broken. Heavens! So many demons. They're rushing up. The disciples on the square panicked, screams rising and falling. Shunli stood up abruptly, her face drastically changing. How could the Protective Mountain Array break? The Protective Mountain Array of Lingyun Peak was an ancient formation, indestructible. How could it suddenly fail? A guarding elder stumbled over, covered in blood. Sect leader, something terrible has happened. The array core of the Protective Mountain Array is shattered. Shunli grabbed his collar. Where's the array core? Why did it shatter? The elder wore a mournful expression. The array core. The array core is junior brother Yishao. What? Shunli was struck as if by lightning, her whole body freezing in place. For these past 10 years, it has been junior brother Yishao, using his own demon bloodline, secretly nourishing the array core and suppressing the demonic energy beneath the ground. He is the array spirit. Now that he has died and dissipated, his demon bone has left his body, the array. The array has naturally collapsed. The elder's words were like hammer blows, striking heavily at Shunli's heart. She staggered back 2 steps, almost falling to the ground. Array spirit. He's the array spirit. Why didn't I know? Why didn't anyone tell me? The elder lowered his head and said softly, Junior brother Yishao wouldn't allow it. He said that you detest demons, and if you knew he was using demon blood to nourish the array, you would feel it was dirty, and you would be unhappy. So he would rather silently endure the array's backlash every time than let you know the slightest thing. Shenli's pupils contracta violently. She remembered the past. Every so often, Yishao would close himself off in seclusion for a few days, his face pale. When she asked about it, he would always smile and say that his cultivation had gone wrong. At the time, she even blamed him for not focusing on his cultivation and for being dull-witted. So that's what it was. He was protecting Lingyun Peak with his life, and she just now had personally forced to death the guardian who had protected Lingyun Peak for 10 years. No, this isn't real. Shunli clutched her chest, feeling a sharp pain in her heart. So painful she couldn't breathe. Help! Help me! Having lost the protection of the Grand Formation, countless demonic creatures rushed onto the plaza, beginning a frenzied slaughter. Those disciples who were usually pampered and well-fed were now lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Master, save me! Save me! Lin was so terrified that he wet himself, hiding behind Shun Li with the demonic bone clutched in his arms, trembling. A huge demonic wolf pounced at Lin, opening its bloody maw. Shun Li subconsciously swung her sword and killed the demonic wolf. Blood splattered all over her face. She looked at the purgatorial scene around her, at the disciples lying in pools of blood. Yi Zhao's last words suddenly flashed through her mind. Without me, she's nothing. Retribution. Was this retribution? Ling Yun Peak, without Yi Zhao, was so utterly vulnerable. Without him, her so-called avoidance of suspicion, her so-called greater good, had become the greatest joke. Below the abyss wasn't hell, but a Shura field. Countless ancient demonic souls were roaring, fighting over my fragmented flesh and blood. Want to eat me? My remaining wisp of a remnant soul opened its eyes in the darkness, filled with overwhelming hatred. Since the heavens are unjust, then I shall transform into a demon. I bit down on a rushing demon soul and swallowed it whole. On the first day, I reassembled my soul. On the 10th day, I reshaped my body with the bones of 10,000 demons. 100 days later, at the bottom of the abyss of 10,000 demons, all demons submitted. Ling Yun Peak, I have returned. Ling Yun Peak plunged into an unprecedented catastrophe. Shun Li, as the sect leader, had to suppress the pain in her heart and fight with her sword. After all, she was a great cultivator in the transformation god stage. One sword could bring frost to 14 states, and the demons shattered wherever she went. But there were too many demons. Endless, impossible to eradicate. Moreover, without Yi Zhao suppression, the old demons who had been sleeping for thousands of years underground also began to awaken. Shen Li, today is the day your Ling Yun Peak is destroyed. A burst of wild laughter came from the black clouds. A hand that blotted out the sky struck down fiercely. Shen Li took the palm head-on, and her whole body flew backward, crashing heavily into the ruins of the Lingyun Hall. Master! The surviving disciples cried out in despair. Shun Li struggled to stand up, but found that her spiritual power was exhausted and her meridians were damaged. Looking at the devastated sect, a deep sense of powerlessness welled up in her heart. In the past, when encountering such a tough battle, Yi Zhao was always the one at the forefront. That disciple who was always taciturn, but always left his back to her. Master, you rest, your disciple will go. Master, be careful you don't stain your sword. Master, don't be afraid, I'm here. Those words she once took for granted, even found annoying, were now the sharpest blades, slowly slicing her heart. She turned to look at Lin, huddled in the corner. This little disciple, whom she had wholeheartedly favored, even to the point of forcing Yi Zhao to his death for him. He was now curled up in a ball, clutching the blood-stained demonic bone like a talisman, muttering, "Don't kill me, don't kill me, I'm innocent." How ironic. The one who bled his last drop for the sect, she treated as a pawn to be discarded, while this cowardly waste she had cherished like a treasure. Linen, Shen Li Sudanli, Shota sharply. Give me Yi Zhao's demonic bone. It was the last thing Yi Zhao had left behind, perhaps enough to temporarily repair the array eye. Linen, however, jumped up as if a cat had been stepped on, fiercely protecting the bone in his arms. No, this is mine. This is the medicinal primer that Master gave me. It's what saves my life. You can't take it. I'll die without it. Shun Li looked at him in disbelief. The sect is about to be destroyed, and you only care about yourself. Give it to me. Only it can restart the Grand Array. She braced herself, wanting to snatch it away. But Lin suddenly revealed a fierce expression, took out an exploding talisman from his sleeve, and aimed it at Shun Li. Don't come near. Old hag, you want me to die? No way. Might as well we all die together. Shun Li was stunned. Old hag, this is the obedient disciple who stuck to her all day, constantly saying, Master is the best. Just as the two were at a standstill, seeing the great formation about to break, Shun Li suddenly thought of something. Where's Yi Zhao's storage bag? Linen, bring your senior brother's storage bag. There might be materials inside to repair the formation. Lin unwillingly threw out a tattered bag. Shun Li, with trembling hands, rummaged through it, finding no spirit stones, no magical artifacts. Instead, she found a well-worn notebook with frayed edges and a bag full of discarded medicine bottles she had casually given him, which he couldn't bear to throw away even when severely injured. Shun Li picked them up with trembling hands. Opening the first page, the handwriting was neat and strong, yet revealing a sense of caution. Today, Master glanced at me. Although her gaze was cold, I am very happy. Master said I am not suitable for sword practice, that I am too clumsy. Actually, I am afraid that the sword energy will hurt the flowers Master planted. Junior brother Lin and wants my spirit gathering pill. Get it to him. As long as Master is not angry, it's fine. My body is getting more and more painful, and the backlash from suppressing the formation is getting heavier and heavier. But I can't say it. Master will despise me if she knows I'm a demonic being. As long as I can stay by Master's side, even if it means being a dog, I am willing. Page after page, line after line. All of it was his love, humble to the dust, and pain he suppressed. Tears finally broke free, blurring Shun Li's vision. What had she done? She had personally killed the person who loved her most in this world. For a white-eyed wolf full of lies, for the sake of so-called avoiding suspicion. She had trampled a true heart underfoot and crushed it into powder. Ha ha! Shen Li sudan Lilauga. Her laughter was shrill, like a cuckoo, crying blood. Yishao! You're so cruel. You're using this method to get revenge on me. You win. You really win. Endless regret gnawed at her heart, hurting more than that palm strike just now. Another loud crash. Lingyun Palace completely collapsed. But this time, Shun Li didn't dodge. She hugged the hand-copied book curled up in the ruins, like a child who had lost the whole world. If this was the end, then let her be buried here, with Lingyun Peak, with the memories of Yishao, just as Lingyun Peak was about to be completely destroyed. From the bottom of 10,000 Demon Abyss, a black and red pillar of light suddenly shot up, piercing through heaven and earth. That aura was terrifying to the extreme, instantly suppressing all the demons. Even that arrogant demon was trembling on the ground, overwhelmed by this pressure. This is the demon lord descending. Everyone looked in horror towards the abyss. In the pillar of light, a figure slowly rose. Black hair danced wildly, red robes like blood. His body was surrounded by monstrous demonic energy, and behind him, a huge Azura Dharma form faintly emerged. That face was handsome and bewitching, but his expression was extremely cold. It was Yishao, but he was no longer Yishao. The Yishao from before always had gentle eyes, with a hint of ingratiation. But now, his eyes were filled with only a domineering arrogance that looked down upon the world, and a chilling, killing intent. He wasn't dead. At the bottom of 10,000 Demon Abyss, he had awakened the true ancient demon emperor bloodline, put to death and then reborn. Yea, Yishao. Shun Li raised her head from the ruins, disbelief blazing in her eyes. You're not dead. That's great. You're not dead. She struggled to stand up, wanting to rush over and embrace him, to tell him she was wrong, to tell him how much she regretted it. However, Yishao merely glanced at her indifferently. That look was as if he were looking at a stranger. Even worse than a stranger, as if he were looking at a speck of dust. Scram. His thin lips parted slightly, uttering a single word. Just one word. An invisible and terrifying wave of energy instantly erupted. Those rampaging demonic creatures didn't even have time to scream before they were directly blasted into balls of bloody mist. That nascent soul stage demon was even crushed into minced meat by this wave of energy. The world was instantly quiet. The crisis at Lingyun Peak was resolved. Everyone stared blankly at this scene, unable to believe their eyes. Was this the trash Yishao that they had despised, that they had forced to his death? Was this the half-demon who was bullied by everyone? This was clearly a supreme demon emperor. Yi Xiao hovered in midair, his gaze falling on Linen. Linen was currently slumped on the ground, still clutching that demonic bone tightly in his hands. Seeing Yi Xiao look over, he was so frightened that his soul flew away and his crotch became soaked. Senior brother, don't kill me. I'm your most beloved junior brother. A mocking smile appeared on the corner of Yi Xiao's lips. He raised his hand and made a gentle gesture. The demonic bone in Lin An's arms instantly flew out and landed in Yi Xiao's hand. The bone, upon touching Yi Xiao, immediately transformed into a stream of light and merged into his chest. The wound healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Yi Xiao's aura became even more complete and terrifying. My bone, you also deserve to possess it. His voice was cold, devoid of any warmth. Ah! Linen suddenly let out a shrill scream. His hands began to fester rapidly, as if stained with a deadly poison. Since you like this bone so much, then let its baleful energy accompany you well. That was the demonic, baleful energy remaining on the demonic bone. When Yi Xiao was alive, he suppressed it. Now that Yi Xiao had taken back the bone, he left behind the baleful energy. For mortals, this was the most vicious curse. No, it hurts so much. It hurts so much. Master, save me. Save me. Linen rolled around frantically on the ground, chunks of flesh falling off, revealing bare white bones. Shunli watched this scene, but remained unmoved. She just stared blankly at Yi Xiao, tears streaming down her face uncontrollably. Yi Xiao, come back. I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. As long as you come back, the position of sect leader of Lingyun Peak is yours. Everything is yours. Please, don't look at me with those eyes. Yi Xiao finally looked at her, but in those eyes there was still not a single ripple of emotion. Shenli, I said, all ties are severed. I won't take your life because I find it dirty. I'll leave you to watch how the Lingyun Peak you protect falls into decline, to watch how the disciples you dote on become corrupted. This is the best punishment for you. Having said that, he turned and soared into the sky, without the slightest hesitation. No. Shunli howled in despair, wanting to chase after him. But she found that she couldn't get close to him at all. She could only watch helplessly as that red figure disappeared into the horizon, taking away all her hope, and also taking away her only salvation in this life. 3 days after Yi Xiao left, Lingyun Peak completely became a laughingstock of the cultivation world. The once #1 immortal sect now had a broken sect gate and suffered heavy casualties. What was even more ridiculous was that the great demon they had driven away was actually the only one who could save them. Shunli seemed like a different person. She was no longer dressed in white robes like snow, nor was she high above. She spent her days wearing the old clothes Yi Xiao used to wear, holding that handwritten notebook, sitting on the edge of the cliff in a daze. Sect leader, the people from Qingyun sect are here, saying they want an explanation. Sect leader, Medicine King Valley has cut off our supply of elixirs. Sect leader, several dozen more disciples have left the mountain. Bad news came one after another. Shunli remained deaf to it all. She simply stroked the writing on the hand scroll mechanically, as if it were Yi Xiao's face. Yi Xiao, are you cold? The wind is strong down in the abyss of 10,000 demons. You used to be most afraid of the cold. Your master has sewn you a garment. Will you come back and try it on? She was mad, or perhaps feigning madness. Because only in a world of madness had Yi Xiao not left. Only then was he still the obedient disciple he used to be. As for Linen, he was truly living a fate worse than death. The demonic qi entering his body didn't kill him immediately. Instead, it corroded his flesh inch by inch every day, causing him excruciating pain, yet unable to seek death. He was thrown into a pigsty, fighting over food with livestock. Those disciples who once fawned over him now spat at him viciously whenever they passed by. This is the ungrateful wretch who killed Senior Brother Yi. Spit. So disgusting. If it weren't for him, Senior Brother Yi would still be here. How could our Lingyun Peak have fallen to this state? Linen writhed in the mud, emitting muffled moans. His tongue had already rotted away, and he couldn't speak. He didn't hate himself, only Yi Xiao. He hated Yi Xiao for not dying completely. Hate that Yi Xiao had to return and take everything from him. Just then, a dark shadow loomed over him. Linen struggled to raise his head. He saw the figure that frightened him to the core. Yi Xiao. He had actually returned again. But this time, he was here to completely settle the karma. Yi Xiao floated in midair, looking at the lump of rotten flesh in the pig pen, his eyes devoid of any emotion. Is this the ending you schemed so hard to steal? Linen trembled all over, desperately shrinking into the corner. Yi Xiao didn't make a move. He simply flicked his finger. A streak of black light entered Lin An's body. It was the retrospective technique. I won't kill you. I want you to experience the pain of the demon bone leaving your body again and again in endless reincarnation, until your soul is completely worn away. Lin An's body froze. The next second, he began to convulse violently, screaming silently. That pain would accompany him for eternity. Having dealt with Lin An, Yi Xiao turned to look towards the main peak. There, a white-haired woman was staring blankly in this direction. It was Shunli. She had sensed his aura. Yi Xiao, is that you? Shunli stumbled over, falling and getting back up, covered in mud. You're back. You're finally willing to forgive your teacher, aren't you? She reached out a withered hand, wanting to touch the hem of Yi Xiao's clothes. Yi Xiao's figure flashed, avoiding her. Shunli, I've come to take back what's mine. Shunli was stunned, then nodded in ecstatic joy. Take it all. As long as you want it, the entire Lingyun Peak is yours. Yi Xiao looked at her coldly. What I want is the half of the Yuan Dan inside you. Shunli's smile froze on her face. Back then, Shunli failed to transcend her tribulation and almost died. Nit was Yi Xiao who cut out half of his demon Yuan Dan and gave it to her, saving her life and cultivation. And no one knew about this except for the two of them. It was also because he lost half of his Yuan Dan that Yi Xiao's cultivation had been stagnant, ridiculed by everyone as a waste. Here, I'll return it to you. Shunli trembled, placing her hand on her dantian. In without the slightest hesitation, she abruptly circulated her spiritual power, forcing out the half of the Yuan Dan that had been fused for many years. In fresh blood spurted out wildly. Shin Li's aura instantly weakened, and her cultivation plummeted from the transformation god stage directly to the foundation establishment stage. In her appearance also aged at a speed visible to the naked eye. She held the Yuan Dan, which emitted a faint black aura, and presented it to Yi Xiao. Here, it's all yours. Yi Xiao, could you call me master one more time? She begged humbly, her eyes filled with hope. Yi Xiao took the Yuan Dan and swallowed it directly. The long-lost power returned, making him squint his eyes in comfort. Then, he lowered his head, looking at the dying old woman. A cruel smile tugged at the corner of his lips. You are not worthy. You are not worthy. These 3 words completely shattered Shun Li's last shred of hope. She collapsed to the ground, the light in her eyes completely extinguished. Like a piece of withered wood, she had no life left. Yi Xiao didn't look at her again. He turned around, preparing to leave this disgusting place. Wait, Shunli suddenly shouted with her last bit of strength. Yi Xiao, I know you won't forgive me, but can you tell me? That time in the secret realm, you were poisoned with lust to save me. Was it true? Yi Xiao posed it. That was a long time ago. Back then, he was a fool, his heart and eyes filled only with his master. To detoxify her, he spared no effort in using his own blood as a medicinal primer, and almost crippled his cultivation. But later, when Shunli woke up, she thought Lin An had saved her. Because Lin An held the empty medicine bowl, seeking credit and rewards. Yi Xiao wanted to explain, but Xunli said he had ulterior motives, wanting to steal his junior brother's credit. From then on, Yi Xiao never explained anything again. So what if it is? So what if it isn't? Yi Xiao had his back to her, his voice indifferent. Anyway, you've never believed me. Xunli was crying profusely. Yes, she had never believed him. Not even once. If only once, just once, she had chosen to believe him, the ending wouldn't have been like this. I was wrong. I was really wrong. Xunli collapsed on the ground, crying like a child. Yi Xiao, if there's a next life, I'll give you my life. I'll give you my heart. Please, don't hate me. Yi Xiao looked up at the sky. Hate? Too tiring. He didn't hate Xunli, nor did he love Xunli. To him now, Xunli was just a stone by the roadside, a clump of weeds. Neither love nor hate was the greatest revenge. There is no next life. Yi Xiao coldly dropped those words. His figure transformed into a stream of black and red light, soaring into the sky, completely disappearing from the territory of Lingyun Peak. Xunli looked in the direction where the light disappeared, reaching out her hand, as if trying to grab something. In the end, she could only weakly let it fall. Her vision began to blur. Her consciousness began to fade. In the last moment of her life, she seemed to see that boy again, wearing a disciple's robe, faded from washing, standing under the peach blossom tree, shyly smiling at her. Sure, Fu, this is peach blossom wine brewed by your disciple. Would you like to try some? Sure, Fu, your smile is so beautiful. Sure, Fu, I will protect you for the rest of my life. The scene shifted. The boy was covered in blood, kneeling on the ground, looking at her with despair. Avoid suspicion? Very well. Then this cultivation that you bestowed upon me, along with this life, I will return it all to you. A bitter smile appeared on Xunli's lips. Settled. Truly settled. Yi Xiao, you left so freely, leaving me alone in this endless hell of regret to never be reborn. Xunli's heart meridian was shattered, but she found that she couldn't die. A black demonic energy protected her heart meridian, holding on to her last breath. Yi Xiao's long-gone voice echoed in her ears. Di, that's too easy for you. I want you to live long and live well, guarding this dilapidated Lingyun Peak, guarding that precious disciple of yours, rotted into mud. This is your remaining life. 100 years later, the cultivation world had long since changed. Although Lingyun Peak still existed, it had already been reduced to a third-rate sect. The opinions about the catastrophe a century ago varied. Some say that it was Xunli, the head of Lingyun Peak, who was blind and forced a generation of prodigies to their death, thus inviting the disaster of annihilation. Others say that Yi Xiao was originally a demon spy who had been lurking for years just for revenge. But regardless of the rumors, that name became a taboo in the cultivation world. Demon Emperor Yi Xiao. It is said that he unified the demon realm and became the lord of all demons. But he never stepped into the human realm again. He also never married or had children, living alone on the highest desolate platform of the demon palace. Some say he is waiting for someone. Others say he is commemorating a lost love. Demon Palace, desolate platform. This place is covered in snow all year round with a biting cold wind. Yi Xiao, wearing a demon emperor robe with black background and red patterns, stood with his hands clasped behind his back, overlooking the vast land beneath his feet. His face was still young and handsome. Time had not left any trace on it. Only his eyes were deep and silent, no longer capable of a ripple. Your Majesty, a demon general knelt respectfully behind him. News has come from the human realm that Lingyun Peak is completely disbanded. The last head was unable to support it, dismissed the disciples, and sealed the mountain gate. Upon hearing this, Yi Xiao's expression did not change at all, as if he had heard only a trivial matter. Understood, he replied faintly. The demon general hesitated for a moment, then continued. Also, we found a withered peach tree while clearing the old Lingyun Peak site. Under the tree is buried a wine jar. Engraved on it are the 5 words gift to my disciple Yi Xiao. Yi Zhao's fingers trembled slightly. Was that Xun Li's brood wine? He remembered that when he had just started in the sect, Xun Li had been quite good to him. She had promised that once he successfully established his foundation, she would personally brew him a jar of peach blossom wine. Later, he established his foundation and formed his core. But that jar of wine never arrived. So, she had brewed it, but buried it under the tree, forgetting him and forgetting the wine. Bring it. Yi Xiao reached out his hand. The demon general immediately presented a wine jar covered in dirt. He broke open the mud seal. A rich aroma of wine wafted up, but it was mixed with a hint of bitterness. Yi Xiao raised the wine jar and, tilting his head back, took a mouthful. The spicy wine flowed down his throat, like a fire burning his chest. Cough, cough. He coughed violently, a trace of redness appearing in the corner of his eyes. This wine, it's really awful, full of bitterness, just like his ridiculous first half of life. Yi Zhao's hand loosened, and the wine jar fell to the ground, shattering into countless pieces. The wine spilled onto the pure white snow, resembling mottled bloodstains. Your Excellency? The demon general watched him carefully. Yi Xiao closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and let the cold wind mess up his long hair. When he opened his eyes again, the trace of red had disappeared, replaced by a dead, indifferent apathy. Sweep it. Yes. The demon general retreated. Yi Xiao turned around and walked back to the empty and desolate hall. In the center of the hall hung a painting. In the painting was a young man, standing under a peach tree, smiling brightly and innocently. That was him once. That was the Yi Xiao who was already dead. He raised his hand, and a ball of demonic fire danced at his fingertip. With a gentle flick, the flame landed on the painting, instantly engulfing the young man's smile. The firelight illuminated Yi Zhao's stern profile. He watched as the painting turned to ashes and said softly, "Goodbye." The wind and snow grew heavier, concealing all traces, all love, hate, and grudges. There was no longer a Yi Xiao in the world, only the demon emperor, sitting high in the clouds, ruling the ages alone. A solitary man, forever enjoying solitude. Please provide the Chinese novel excerpt you would like me to translate. I need the text to be able to provide an English translation.